Hey, good morning. So for our Real Loud yesterday, we talked about different things that happened in Ted's life. Unfortunately, Helen passed away. He married a lady named Aubrey. Then his father passed away, but he kept this dinosaur stone with him. And then what's happened is he starts looking outside his house and noticing that the beaches aren't really there anymore. And instead he sees lots of trees. So at the end of yesterday, I asked if he knew what story he would start writing, thinking about how to help the earth. And that is, of course, writing the Lorax. Writing the Lorax, Ted said, was the hardest thing I've ever done. He had read so many facts and cared so much about the natural world that it kept turning more into a lecture. A lecture is like a big speech. So everything he wrote wasn't fun like his normal books. It was more just giving facts and facts and facts. So when he got completely stuck, Audrey said, let's go to Africa. So in Kenya, Africa, Ted was excited to discover these trees that looked like the puffy ones he invented in his new book. And he actually said, look, they stole my triplet trees. And if you remember, we had actually read about these trees in our Scholastic News. So really, they got on a safari trip and he saw these cute little elephants walking by. And then suddenly, it all kind of came to him exactly what he wanted to say. And the elephants kind of inspired him, and he ended up grabbing a scrapbook and wrote almost the whole story at once, which is so weird for him because we know normally it took him forever. So he actually wrote this whole book, The Lorax, all at once in one sitting. The Lorax, I shall read to you in a moment, tells about a beautiful land where triplet trees grow. The Onceler wants to chop them all down to use them in his factories. It's the Lorax who speaks for the trees. It was Ted's favorite book of all his books, but it actually didn't sell very well at first. People thought that it was preaching too much. That it was just giving a lecture, like, don't cut down the trees, don't cut down the trees. But years later, when people start realizing, hey, we shouldn't be cutting down the trees, it's not a good idea, it's actually hurting the planet, then this book became very, very popular. And now it's a very, very popular book. And I think that's all I have. Yeah, so here comes the Lorax. And you may have even seen this. Let's turn into a video later too, because the message is so important about not chopping down trees. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing, excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grinkle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you will still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted that Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives here. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkim on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkim, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of miffle-mouthed moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. Perhaps he'll tell you if you're willing to pay. On the end of the rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes the most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovelous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slurp, down slurps the whisper my phone to your ear, and the old Onceler whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snargly hose, and he sounds as if he has smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time ago. How beautiful it is. Way back in the days where the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the Swanee Swan sang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place. And I first saw the trees, the trifle trees, the bright colored tufts of the trifle trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits, as they played in the shade and ate trifle fruits. From the rippiest pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those trifle trees, all my life I've been searching for trees such as these, and the touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh, buttery milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew what I would do. I unloaded my cart. And in no time at all, I built a small shop. Then I chopped down a trifle tree with one chop. And with great skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The instant I finished, I heard a gazop. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongue, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my trifle tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed is a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There's no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You could never tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers, my uncles and aunts, and I said, listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road off North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in a factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds as busy as bees in the sound of the chopping of the trifle trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which hacked off 4 trifle trees at one smacker. We're all making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating trifle fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough trifle fruits to go round, and my poor bobberloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Wentzler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the thneeds that I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again, he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more grapes. Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed, he sneezed and he snuffed and he snargled, he sniffed. Wentzler, he cried with a crofulous croak, Wentzler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swanny swans, why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery jogs on, day and night without stop, making gluppity glup, also schmuckety smup. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Wentzler man, you. Aww. You're glumping the pond with the humming fish where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled to Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring I'm biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more triplet trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last triplet tree of them all. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smog-smutted stars. And now, that's all left, 'neath the bad-smelling sky, was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance, as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all of that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word unless Whatever that means, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Wensler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So catch, calls the Wensler. He lets something fall. It's a Tripholis seed. It's the last one of all. You are in charge of the last of the Tripholis seeds, and Triphola trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new Triphola, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack, then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. And that's the end of the story. Really important about taking care of environment and not just taking and taking and taking, even if it makes you more money, but making sure that you're protecting our earth and that you are remembering that all the things in nature are important for other things, whether it's other plants or people or animals, and that when you're cutting down things, it can cause a lot of problems for a lot of other things. So it's a good lesson. It's okay if you have to cut down a tree every once in a while. Maybe part of it's dying and could fall over. Who knows? Maybe it's just in the way. But getting greedy and cutting down more and more and more and more and more things in nature just makes it worse for all the animals and other plants who need, and humans, because we need the oxygen from them, and all the things that need those trees to be alive. Hope you have a great day.